In today's video, a very simple video, we're going to take a look at Toronto and GTA condo prices within the last year and see what exactly has been happening to the Toronto and GTA condo market at large. Have condo prices crashed? Have they been stable? Have they been stagnant? What is really the story here? So we're going to break down the Toronto and GTA areas in detail, and as always, talk more about the Toronto GTA real estate market at large. Anyways, before we get into that, hello everyone, this is Sam from SaberiSixRealEstate and Remax Realtron Realty Inc. back with another video for you guys here today. If you're new to the channel, welcome. My name is Sam, a Toronto real estate agent who actively works within the Toronto and GTA real estate market. On this channel, we like to discuss everything having to do with the Toronto and GTA real estate market, market stats, market updates, home prices, property tours, area analysis, buyer advice, so much more. And it's easier than ever to get in touch with me. You can book a call for a chat with me. The link is in the description. So in today's video, I want to take a look at home prices across the Toronto and GTA real estate market in the last year, as we discussed. So let's get to it. Let's start. And before we get into the specifics of the numbers, let me just break down quickly what you guys are seeing. You guys are seeing prices on a monthly basis by the area, and in the cells in the middle, it is the month over month percentage increase or decrease. In the event that it's a month over month increase, it's green. In the event that it's a month over month decrease, it is obviously red. Let's first start with GTA wide. If you see me looking down, I'm looking at my iPad to give you the exact prices. So here we have sold prices for condos across the GTA, GTA wide for the last year. You will see these prices on the screen right here. But when we take a look at just GTA wide, right, since March of 2023 to most recent month we have in full, March of 2024, we see year over year in absolute dollar, it's only down $3,000, right, year over year. And we discussed this previously when I did my market report, and for those who are in my WhatsApp group chat, you guys saw this app. And to go along, we see April 2023, the market picked up, and then May 2023, the market picked up to the point where $748,000, that was the average in May 2023. Now, I've discussed this for a long time. Once again, really the peak of the market in the last year across all property types, but particularly condos, was spring of 2023. Still actually quite lower than spring of 2022. Spring of 2022 has been the all-time peak. Right now, we're only a couple days into it, really April, but things are seeming much cooler and calmer than April 2023. Now, of course, once April ends, we'll have the exact numbers. And as we see, prices dipped very seasonally so into June, July, and August to the tune of 1.2%, dropping to $739,000, to the tune of 0.5%, dropping to $735,000 across the GTA for average condo. And then the biggest drop was July to August, where prices dropped all the way to $705,000 for a condo on an average basis. And prices then were really stagnant from August to November of 2023, really, just really moving at a 0.25% here, a 0.25% there, right? August was $705,000. November, we ended things at $710,000. Obviously, seasonally, things really screeched to a halt. December and January, we see December across the GTA, $682,000, and then January, $681,000. And then so far in 2024, after January rather, we have February at $695,000, and now March at $700,000. But let's get a little bit more targeted. Let's look at Toronto specifically. And obviously we see Toronto home prices now since March of 2023 to this point in time. The only months that really break away from the GTA trend for Toronto are, for instance, here, September, October. September of 2023, home prices fell 0.4% to $729,000, and then 1.2% to $720,000, while we were seeing, as I previously discussed, really marginal, barely anything, 0.2% increases, right, in GTA wide. Still, much of the same applies really from August of 2023, where Toronto condo, an average one was $724,000, to November, where the average sold price for a condo across the state of Toronto was $720,000. Things remained very stagnant, and then things started to slowly pick back up to the point where, as of March 2024, we have an average sold price of $729,000, still down year over year, but the biggest increase really happened January to February so far in 2024 to the tune of 2.4%, as you guys can see. Now let's break down Toronto to Toronto Central, Toronto East, Toronto West. When we take a look at Toronto Central, we see that so far of all the areas we've discussed, GTA Toronto, Toronto Central is the area that's most on par with year over year. here. But once we get to Toronto East and West, you'll see why that's going to stop. Because in March of 2023, the average sold price for a condo in Toronto Central was $786,000. Now we're at $785,000. Once again, pretty much the same price when we're talking about in practical terms, indicating once again the market has been very stagnant. Not to say the shifts and the seasonal trends haven't occurred in the meantime, which once again we see they follow much of the same seasonal trends. Things really peaked up and peaked in the spring of 2023. In April we had $803,000 as an average sold price, and then in May we had $838,000. Then we saw a 1.1% decrease, a 2.8% decrease, a 5.5% decrease in average sold price on a month-over-month basis. And central Toronto condo prices, like most other areas or categories we'll look at, have really bottomed in August and December and January, around $760,000. Inevitably, I'm going to get people who are kind of detached from reality commenting on this video that all these are overpriced, condos should only be worth $200,000, and just wait, in 3 years, condos will crash all the way to $200,000. So I'm looking forward to those comments. And so far, I hope the theme has been kind of coming through, that Toronto condo prices on a year-over-year basis have been pretty stagnant, right? And this doesn't mean, and this does not support either the bull philosophy of just wait, prices are going to increase, prices are going to skyrocket, or the people who are a little bit even more fantastical and detached from reality, the people who are thinking it's just about time for things to crash. Clearly, we see the truth is really boring. Prices have been kind of holding water for the last couple of months, in this case 12 months, having their typical seasonal trends, increasing in the spring, decreasing, stagnating into the summer, maybe picking up back up a tiny bit into the fall, but then once again waiting for the spring to pick back up. Now, one thing that we break away a little bit from that is once we take a look at Toronto West and Toronto East. Clearly here we see, with case of Toronto West, this is the first category we're looking at, just the Toronto West category. We see that condo prices are up March over March. So in March of 2023, the average sold price was $650,000. Now, March 2024, across the Toronto West area, so Etobicoke, Northern Etobicoke, Southern Etobicoke, the Junction, all the areas in between, Islington Town Center, we see that Toronto West condos are up $658,000 year over year. But nonetheless, once again, but here is the first and true anomaly, which is Toronto West condo prices peaked in August of 2023, which is quite odd. I don't know why we see a 4.2% increase from July to August of 2023, where prices increased from all the way from $675,000 to $703,000. Obviously, at the time I was working within the Toronto condo market, I did see somewhat of a shift of demand towards Toronto West, but I'm not quite sure why that shift of demand occurred in the first place. Another thing to keep in mind, these are averages, not medians. Averages can be susceptible to really high-end or high-priced items shifting the average up, or in some cases when the number of sales are low priced items shifting the average down. But in that case, I don't think that's a explanation for why prices jumped all the way to $703,000 in August of 2023. Nonetheless, that anomaly aside, Toronto West follows much of the same trajectory. Once we go to Toronto East, much like Toronto West, we see a year-over-year increase, March to March, so March 2023, $777,000, and now we have $789,000. Obviously, both Toronto East, March 2023, average sold price $603,000. Now, average sold price March 2024, $612,000. And on this channel, I'm always a fan of saying I go based upon the quantitative and the qualitative, right? So I go based upon what the numbers are telling me, and I also use my experience on the ground in terms of making assessments, providing opinion, providing advice, right, with regards to this channel, or if it's an individual client. Oftentimes, my personal on-the-ground experience and the numbers agree, right? And in this case, my on-the-ground experience, my qualitative experience does not correspond to the numbers. Here, according to the numbers, we see C1, which is central downtown to western downtown. We see that C1 has been marginally increasing here and there, but clearly from February to March, we see that C1 has increased to the tune of 1.1%. going from $780,000 to $789,000. Of course, as of March 2024, it's still higher than March 2023 even, right? Like the average sold price in March 2023 was $777,000, and all the normal seasonal trends in between, and then a huge drop from September to October, where in October of 2023, here we saw a pretty big drop in average sold prices, where prices dropped from $811,000 to $753,000. Now, what I mean when I say my on-the-ground experience is not corresponding to this is downtown Toronto condos are collecting dust right now for the most part, and I made clear mention of this in my most recent videos. You know, there's distress sales, I covered that, and I covered how and why most inventory is not moving. And I'm not just speaking from reviewing the listings for YouTube or, you know, just looking at the numbers, right? I'm also speaking from buying and selling in downtown, right? Like just this month already, I purchased 2 downtown Toronto condos. That's 2 for 5 buyers that I'm actively in downtown every single day. Just this week, I've been downtown 6 straight days in a row. Do you want to envision 6 straight days of having to deal with the gardener and finding parking in downtown? By the way, I'm not going to complain too much. I have a wonderful job. You know, I'm pretty spoiled. But nonetheless, that's not the point. The point is that I'm speaking from a lot of experience, and I'm not seeing anything move. So I was quite surprised when I saw February to March prices picked up 1%. I wouldn't have been surprised to see prices drop 5%. I'm seeing more and more things sell less than asking, sell less than fall, sell less definitely than last spring. But according to the numbers here, and these numbers are accurate, they're from TREB, March 2023, we were at $777,000. March 2024, we're at $789,000. And really C8 downtown, which is like central downtown to eastern downtown, much to the same point, I would say, or if not more exasperated. You know, condos in C8, especially on the Dundas area, you know, around Queen East, Dundas East, parts of Regent Park, I mean, not parts of Regent Park, really Regent Park, but in particular buildings as well that are more so distressed than other buildings. Really, downtown East is even suffering more than downtown West. Now, I'm making it sound like everything is crashing. That's not what I'm trying to say. What I'm trying to say is that the condo inventory, as I covered in my previous video, is simply a lot of investor friendly, a lot of flips, a lot of people not taking care of the units, a lot of mediocre to bad options and mediocre to bad buildings, right? Things are just not selling, but according to the numbers, once again, they don't correspond to my experience on the ground. According to the numbers, average sold prices have increased month over month to the tune of 5.9% in C8. And of course, year over year, average sold prices for C8 are actually down though. March 2023 was $772,000, now we're at $745,000. All right, now let's move on to the rest of the GTA, York region and Peel region. We're not gonna take a look at Durham, but let's start with York region. Now, York region, as you guys know, is a mixed bag, in my opinion, with regards to the condo sector overall. I'm a huge fan of Richmond Hill condos, not so much Vaughan condos, not a fan of Vaughan condos. And Markham condos are really hit and miss. But anyways, let's take a look at prices in the last 12 months. Starting out with York region overall, the entirety of the York region area. Now, one key thing is these prices will account for Richmond Hill, Vaughan, Markham, and other areas we're not going to discuss, like the very few condos in Newmarket, the very few condos in Simcoe, and the very few condos in like Aurora, for example, right? But anyways, let's take a look at York region prices. So far, we see year over year, obviously York region is down $698 in March of 2023. We are at $684,000 in March of 2024. When things peaked in spring of 2023 for York region, the average sold price was around $753,000. And really for York region, things didn't really peak as we see in spring of 2023. Things actually peaked in the summer. As you see, in spring of 2023, the average sold price was around $719,000 York region wide. But breaking away from the seasonal trend of GTA wide, Toronto wide, and the other areas we discussed, prices really peaked so far in the last 12 months in summer, July of 2023, where we see the average sold price at $753,000. Now, when we break it down to Richmond Hill, Vaughan, and Markham, for Richmond Hill, for instance, the most recent month in full, we're at $652,000. So far for Richmond Hill, prices have been trending somewhat downwards in 2024. From January to February, we see an increase of 2.7%, but from February to March, so far, where February, Richmond Hill saw an average sold price of $673,000. In March, we see a drop once again of 3% at 652. Year over year, much of the same situation where, March of 2023 average sold prices in Richmond Hill were at $682,000. Markham, making up the most expensive area in York region, came at an average sold price in March of 2024 at $728,000. And Markham actually bucks the trend of other York region municipalities with regards to condos, where it is actually up, because in March of 2023, the average sold price was around $712,000. But once again, much like other areas, things, as we see, peaked in Markham at $751,000 in spring of 2023. And then similarly for Vaughan, much of the same trend. Much like Markham, Vaughan seems to have peaked in July so far, with obviously, so far as you guys can see, March 2024 average sold prices coming in at $684,000, and March 2023 down from that point, right? March 2023 was $695,000. And don't get me wrong, things did start to pick up into April and spring, but much like Markham, once again, the highest month so far has been in July. So prices in York region, mostly once again stagnant, but a little less stagnant than I would say Toronto. Prices in York region seem to be a little bit more up and down, fluctuating a little bit more against the seasonal trends, although largely once again following the seasonal trend. And then quickly, let's take a look at Peel region. Peel region, we see that all in all, March 2024, the average sold price is $609,000. representing a 4% increase in average sold prices from February, and February represented a 0.3% increase from January. Of all the regions, obviously, compared to Toronto, York region, really GTA, Peel region is the cheapest for condos. Year over year prices are up slightly, and we really see things really picked up in April of 2023 for Peel region, where prices jumped to $640,000. And really, the Toronto condo market has been following what I've been talking about and what I once again referred to earlier in the video, and this is something I predicted actually, which is condo prices you can expect it for the next 3 years, and I made this statement once prices start to go down in 2022, once the Bank of Canada started to hike interest rates closer to fall of 2022, maybe early 2023, but definitely before March of 2023. What I was saying is you can expect safely condos on an average basis, right, to be the most consistent going forward. That means in terms of growth, they're going to be the most limited. In terms of depreciation, in terms of drop in prices, when there's fluctuations, they're going to appreciate the least and they're going to drop the least. Once again, this is across the averages, right? A really well bought unit in a good building with a great layout is going to obviously perform better than a mediocre unit in a bad building in a bad area, right? But at a general basis, if you want to put a percentage point across the market, I stated, and so far it has been true, condo prices are mostly going to be fluctuating around 1 to 3% up or 1 to 3% down. Now, how far that is going to continue to be the case into the future, very hard to tell. Obviously, the Bank of Canada is meeting next June, and after that September, with regards to a cut in the interest rates. Now, even if the Bank of Canada does cut interest rates, I do anticipate condos to pick up, but I do not anticipate condos to pick up anywhere near how much freehold homes will pick up, detached, semi-detached townhomes, right? Undoubtedly, if the Bank of Canada is to cut interest rates, prices will pick up for condos. It will be a better time to be a seller. That is what I'm telling my condo sellers. Wait until the rate cuts, wait until the rate cuts. Nonetheless, they're still going to pick up less comparatively to freehold and detached properties. Similarly, if the Bank of Canada decided to all of a sudden hike interest rates, which is no one's predicting that, but if all of a sudden Bank of Canada decided we're going to hike interest rates, you can expect condo prices to drop way less, once again, comparatively, than detached and freehold prices. My point is that condos seem so far to be the most consistent, and I think you can expect that going into the future, at least for the next 1.5 to 2 years. But I could be very much so wrong and mistaken about that. Anyways, as always, this is Sam from SaberiSixRealEstate. This was a long one. Thank you for this was a long one. I am tired. Thank you very much for watching. My contact information in the description box. Get in touch with me with any inquiries whatsoever. Stay safe and stay tuned. Thank you.